And if you've seen our show last week, or if you're watching this on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, my profile, Facebook page, YouTube page, everything, we're on all media, social media platforms, and our own community. Guys, last week's was about the character and every character about being a sovereign man. Today's topic, the other half of yourself, is going to be vetting and choosing the right partner. I hope I'm watching this on because we had a shooting in Vegas just yesterday, and the backstory of it was he went in to go do he went to shoot his partner, and whether you're not stable enough, whether you're going through some things, nobody should be able to live through that, especially for the people that's going through it right now, because domestic violence is a big thing, right?
Mm.
And it all can be curbed, strained, everything if you have the right tools. And this is why we built this channel, because the modern day provider also have to have last week's. You also have a modern day support system in your
Mm.
partner, right?
Mhm.
Doc, while I get us all set up technically as usual, let us know what we'll be going over,
All
and we'll
right.
just go straight into it.
All right. Well, greetings, everybody. It's Dr. Keith Fairclough back again with Boundaries and Brotherhood. And so, yeah, picking your partner is probably the most important decision you will ever make, like your entire life. You know, outside of your faith or whatnot, that is the single most important decision, because that decision right there can determine what happens for the rest of your life. That decision right there can determine whether or not you're able to even achieve your goals and your purpose. That decision right there can make a difference between whether your children leave your care and your family once they get old enough, with or without childhood trauma. Like, it is a critical decision, a very critical decision. And I also want to make sure to establish that. So we're going to be coming from the standpoint today of a man who is already sovereign. This is someone who's worked out his issues. He knows himself. He's securely attached. You know, he knows how to apologize. He knows how to love. He knows how to communicate. He knows how to do all these things. So we're coming from that perspective. If you're not there yet, then you're probably not ready for any relationship as it is, just to be honest, right? And that's what you need to focus on. And if you're already in a relationship, you're married or whatnot, then instead of kind of show your, oh my, you know, you need to, this is what they're saying. No, first you need to focus on yourself first. That's what the sovereign man does. He takes responsibility for himself. He changes himself. He works himself out. He makes sure he is stable and secure and good. And then he moves out to start going and helping other people. So again, this is for the sovereign men who are, I'm ready for a relationship, and I need to know, how do I pick the right person and not make a mistake. So that's what we're
Oh
going to be
no, I
talking
mean
about today.
that's really, really important, because I mean, you got to be able to break the loop. You also have to be, this superficial bullshit that you got going on with the dating scene, the modern man, life of abundance, all this stuff. You got to be able to vet the person, because I can speak from experience. If I wasn't in this place in life right now with my family, everything going on, business, with helping out people, with the 5 things I got going on, I would not be here today working with a professional therapist, multiple therapists, doing this show, because it's here to help men and women and relationships to find the best version of yourself so that you can actually do something with your life. Doc, let's put this in the system, right?
Okay.
How important is it to have the right partner in your life from
Oh, yeah.
your standpoint? And I'll give you mine, story
Yeah.
time and all this good stuff, right?
Yeah. You know, honestly, from, like I was saying before, it is literally the single most important decision you will ever make, finding the right person, right? I know, nowadays, people, they, like, no one's moving with intention, right? Like Gordon, you were talking about the dating scene, and that people aren't moving with intention. People
Yeah.
are stuck in these situationships, and I'm not ready for a relationship, but I'm still trying to sleep around, or all of these things like that. And it's like, you don't understand what really is at stake, right? You don't understand that if you pick the wrong person, you may not be able to achieve your goals. You don't understand that if you pick the wrong person, you may never experience what real love is like. If you pick the wrong person, you're going to spend the rest of your life in fight or flight, or divorced. And then you have
Yeah.
kids. and now the kids are getting messed up, and all these, like, it is critically important, because if you have the right person behind you, you have everything can exponentially increase. Because here's the thing about women, right? Women that they're in a good place, like you said, sovereign men. I don't know if we have a word for women yet, but a woman who's healed and whole and knows herself. Women are natural, the nurturers, right? But they don't just nurture what they get, they also amplify it. This is true of all women. If you give them something, they will nurture it and they will amplify it. And they'll amplify it over and over again, and then they will turn it back to you in a way better fashion, way better form, right? So when you find the right woman who can amplify your dreams, amplify your confidence, amplify your goals, amplify your money, amplify your influence on the children, and when she can nurture and amplify all that, the sky's the limit. Like the sky, there's nothing you cannot do when you have the right partner in your life. Now, on the other side of that, if you have the wrong partner in your life,
right,
it's going to be like dragging yourself, like army crawling on the ground, right, through glass and metal shards, and burning things. And it'd be like just a slow, and it's going to be difficult to get anything done. You bring up an idea, she shuts it down. Oh, that's stupid. Right. That's dumb. Right? You talk about how you feel. Oh, you're being weak and you're being a female, and I'm more of a man than you, and da 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 da. You try to set up a good structure for the kids. She doesn't uphold it. Right? You try to let her know there's some of the things that she's doing that she doesn't take any of your words or advice. You try to bring something up to her. She becomes defensive all the time. Like, how far can you really go with that much resistance and that much dead weight? Because you're married, you still have obligations to her. And so now you have obligations to someone you don't even like anymore, but you still got to keep showing up for her, and you still got to keep giving out. And now you're not getting anything poured back in. And can you make it work? Yeah, you can make it work. But I mean, come on. Can you run a race as fast as Usain Bolt with 90 pounds tied to you? Yeah, you could. You could, right? But I'm telling you, it's a whole lot easier when you don't got those weights on. And so picking the wrong person and then having children with the wrong person, it's one of the worst things in the world. It is one of the worst things in the world. So if you're a man out there and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just dipping my stick in anything that moves, and I'm just gonna, try that, I'll tell you to stop. If you're not sovereign, if you don't know yourself, if you're still dealing with issues and trauma and all these things like that, stop. Get yourself together. Because the thing is, if you're a mess, you're not going to be able to know how to pick the right person.
Yep.
You're not.
Yep.
You're going to be looking at these superficial things. Oh, man, she gives me the best sex ever. Oh, man, yeah, I got to lock up with her. What? We like the same show. Huh? Like these stories, like, they don't matter at all. But because you're not moving right, because you don't know yourself, because now you're looking for someone to fill a hole and a gap in you they're not designed to do. Right. Because we're not supposed to be finding a spouse to fix something in us. I'm going to say it one more time. You're not supposed to be finding a spouse to fix something in you, to feel your self-worth, or to make yourself feel loved. That's not why we get a spouse. We get a spouse so we can actually build something better together than we could do by ourselves. That's why. Right. We love each other. We're trying, we're growing. We want to affect the next generation with our children and how they can go out and do something in the world with the values and the beliefs and the morals. Like, that's why we get married. That's why we come together. And so to make it a serious, important decision like that, you've got to be in your right mind. You wouldn't go into an important business meeting drunk or high on drugs. You wouldn't do that. No one would do that. Why? Because there's so much on the line. If you got $100 million contract, I promise you're going to bed early the night before, right? You're making sure you got your good morning routine. You're set up intentionally because you want that to be successful. And I'm telling you right now, picking the right partner is way, way, way more important and way more valuable than a $100 million contract deal that you have to get through that meeting. So I say all that to say, like, that's why it's so important to understand picking the right partner for yourself. That's why it's so important and so critical.
Oh no, I'm just so true, because I mean, even when you said like doing multiple contracts. I've been high. I've been that person trying to close deals, but there's no substance to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no backbone. There's no substance because there's always a character flaw going in. Because what am I doing it for? I'm not confident in myself, but I just want to get the ego going so that I can say I close this multi-million-dollar deal. Oh, I
Mhm.
close this situation. But having the right person in your corner, whether it's your spouse, because how many men out here right now is all transactional, right? When even transactional with women, you want to be 6 foot, be in the 1%, have a high value man, all this crap that's going on, but they're looking for transactional, non-substance, non-characteristics that they kind of build together. They just want the end result, right? When
Mhm.
you get the end result, where's the process in all that, right? When you find the right partner or the right people that's around you, it's the same thing like your group of circle. The person you pick, the person you marry, the person you're going to build with is going to be the person you grow old with, because doing it alone at the end of the day gets boring. I remember, Doc, staying at my office looking over Waikiki on the 61st floor, right? Being lonely, but I was on the top of the world. I remember going to California, doing all my dealings, doing it alone because I have nothing to share it with. So you can have
Mhm.
all the money in the world, all the materials, all the so-called, I would say, accolades, nobody to build it with and share it with. And at the end of the day, there is nothing that's going to stop me, because a lot of people, even including myself, because I look at all the stages in my life that I went through, right? When you understand that you want to build something with a solid foundation, even if you guys are both wrecks at one point, but you know yourself, what you've been through, how to change it, because it's going to repeat its cycle. If you know how to change that situation at the perfect time, guess what happens to you guys? Life
Mhm.
gets much easier and you have the tools to deal with it. Like Doc said, if you're not sovereign yourself, if you don't have the tools, the training, the insight, every, the things that make you whole, you're always going to be a broken person with another broken person. Two broken pieces doesn't make a piece of puzzle work, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Because you got to understand that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Now, when a situation happens where, say, you have a breakup, or say something happens and the person just snaps mentality, I'll give you a story, right? What should a sovereign man be able to do versus what you see out here in the world right now with so much of it going on?
Mm.
Shootings. The one like 2 weeks ago when that guy shot all his kids because he was going to get divorced, right? Is this a
Mhm.
pattern, or is it just people that just are fed up and could be doing something about it?
Well, even before I answer that, I just want to touch on something real quick. It's better to do it alone than be in a bad relationship.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you that right
Yes.
now. It
Yes.
is much,
Yes.
much. You might be like, "Oh man, I wish I could have someone to do it with." And it is better to do it
Yes.
alone than to be in a bad relationship.
Yes.
Right? Tell you that one hundred
Yes.
percent. Right? So y'all guys keep that in mind. And then also
Well,
I will say this as well. When it comes to
please say.
relationships, you know, um, I'll say this, when it comes to relationships also, because Gordon, you also mentioned essentially about something. I think was about like the effort. You know, relationships take effort. They take the end
It's an
result. That's right.
entity itself.
People
Yes.
people want the end result of great relationships, but don't want to do the work that it
The
takes to get to
process.
the end result. I actually
Right.
talked about this in a session with a client yesterday,
Oh, wow.
about how women to anticipate their needs, and you should just know, and I shouldn't have to tell you, and
Oh,
whatever,
wow.
whatever. You know, and I was teaching them like, yeah, you can get that. There are guys
You
that do that.
can.
There are women that do that, but what you're asking for is like level 10 stuff. You're,
And you're
you're not
starting
even
at
in,
level
you're not even
two.
in the game yet.
You're
You're,
not even
you're just you're not even in the game
you're not
yet.
even in the game yet.
And you want level
Yeah,
10 stuff. You want level, and so that's also something else you got to keep in mind as well.
right.
Relationships, there is no relationship on the planet that's better than that of a man and a wife, right? Because there's no one
A
that
good
can
one.
get that close and connect and things of that nature. But you have to understand something that's that precious, that valuable. It takes work, intentional work, to get
Absolutely.
to that point. So if you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to learn how to communicate, if you're not willing to learn how to emotionally regulate, then you're better off just being alone. You're better off
Right.
just being alone. You'll have more peace. You'll have more joy. Yeah, you're not going to be able to feel what real deep unconditional love feels like, that intimate love. You won't be able to feel that, but you still got everything else you can engage in. So just keeping that in mind, right? Being alone is better than being in a bad relationship. Now, Gordon, to your question, it's essentially like, what is the question, what is causing guys to get to that point? Or is the
Right.
question, how does a sovereign man keep himself so he doesn't get to that point?
Start with that one. Start with the
Okay.
first one, right?
The first one?
Yes. Like,
All right.
like, how is it getting to this point when you have so much of it going on all the time now? Do people just not care? They don't think or they're just fed up, or you mean they don't have the tools, or it's really an epidemic the way I'm seeing it.
So this is, it's the same thing we struggle with as men, that we're trying our best to come out of. And that's, we don't open up and share and talk about these things.
Yes. Okay.
I've worked with a lot of men in my practice, and I've worked with them in crisis situations. And I was talking to them, and essentially I was just there. And a lot of times I would just listen, validate,
Right.
empathize, right? They were on their last legs. They wanted to give up on their relationship. They wanted, like, you name it, all types of different things. And I was there, right? I was there to be there for them so they could open up and share and just get it out, right? And in some of those situations, there was no solution to get on the other side. So we
Okay.
were able to have these conversations and talk and give them the space to open up and share and just be validated and empathize, like I'm not crazy and things of that nature. And so, but I see, and I know this for sure. I can understand why, if you're left in that highly intense emotional state, and your mind, it starts creating all types of scenarios, and starts coming with all types of weird solutions and things like that, that you could go off the deep end and do all types of horrible things, whether it's taking, unaliving yourself, or whether it's unaliving somebody else, or, all types of things, hurting your kids, or just getting up and leaving and nobody knows what's happened. Like, you could go through so many different paths. So, what's going on is these guys are just reaching their breaking point, and I think now, because, well, guys are reaching their breaking point. That's what's going on. And
That's big.
it's the same issue. We don't have anyone to go to. We still believe the same, like, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear my problems. I want to be a burden on nobody. I'm not
Right.
important. So let me not, like, there's still a lot of that going on as well. And just, again, just not enough support, not enough people for us as guys to just go to and be like, hey, listen, this is what I'm struggling with and going through. Hey, I'm on my last legs, man. I'm about to choke this woman out. Like, bro, like, talk me down or something. Like that's where a lot of guys are. But once you are able to have those conversations with them and give them that space to open up and share, it calms everything down. And then we just take it day by day and process through it. And they're able to get through it. They're able to get to the other side. They're able to get to a solution that works, even if it hurts. So I would say that for the first question, yeah, it's that, that's what we see going on in these extreme situations. These guys are getting to those breaking points.
I mean, yeah, it's so true, because I can tell you from a story of mine where it's like I went to go shoot my second daughter's mom. Like, I went to the hotel, busted her, everything. I had my thing in my hand, everything. Dude, older guy at that time, maybe he's like 20 years old. He looked at me. He knew what time it was. Started bawling, started crying. He made a mistake. And guess what? What changed everything for me, Doc? Right? Go to the hotel. Second, it was a brand new, my brand new daughter. I left the limelight. I left the drug scene, all of my stuff, to be with this person, be normal, work, everything, do all that stuff. Let her go out one night. She never came back home. I watched the baby with the family. I'm living at their house. A week later, I find out all these stories. She's back on drugs and everything. I catch her in a hotel. I knock on her door. I have the thing. It's cocked, ready to go. Pointed. The guy I knew, he balls out. She attacks me. She attacks me. I'm like, what the fuck kind of shit is this? You attack me when I'm busting you, when your parents told me to come get you and bring you back home.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is wild, right? So when that happened, I've been basically, to other women, I've been damaged goods for a long time, right? That's how I was able to run girls, be in the business I was, being in all that
Mm,
other good stuff because I didn't
yeah.
care, right?
Yeah.
And I learned from all those ways, but it's like
Yeah.
that's what changed me because I can tell when you're at that point, you start thinking reactionary, but that was a pattern interrupt for me. It was like, I'm here to do you, but you attack me for busting you. Something is wrong here.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at a situation when they reach their breaking point, like you said, right?
Hmm.
Think about this. I think about this when I hear about situations like this. I put myself in because it didn't happen more than it happened more than once when I was gonna about do things to people that was just not going to be really good, right?
Hmm.
So when you think about the men's breaking point, but then when I have breaking points now, it's like I'm just like, man, I have all this processing, I have all these tools, I have all this experience, I have this emotional awareness now, not just
Hmm.
from working. Hey, Mr. Clemens, blessings. He said,
Ah,
right?
Adrian, man, good to see you, man.
When you have situations like that, but like I said, not all the men can go through this and come out with flying colors. Now,
Hmm.
did it take for me to do a lot of prison time and a lot of reflection, a lot of deep introspect? Absolutely. Like I said in last week's video, it takes a long time to look into deep into where you've been and how you became the person you are today. This is why Boundaries and Brotherhood has been created, right? To have a
Yeah.
place for men to come to what I mean, get coaching. If you want to work with Doc on a more therapeutic level, more private level, he's offering that also. But we want to build this community so that you have a place because to me, how many people can be saved? It trips me out when I see, you know what I mean, imagine if the guys that didn't tackle him and he shot up the whole Smith store because that's what they was afraid of.
Hmm.
I've been in Cosmo when they had shooters, people run, and I'm running toward to take down bad guys.
Hmm.
But it's what I mean. It's like one of those things. But we're trying to get to the point where people can come to Boundaries and Brotherhood to express themselves in a more intimate level. This is why I do. You see all on our social media posts. You see on our blog posts. You see on Wavering. You see our videos. You see all of this put together between me and Doc is changing lives. Whether we know it or not, it is
Hmm.
changing lives because people comment on it.
Yeah.
People message me, thank you for doing this. Not more than one, Doc.
Hmm.
It's crazy, right? But this is why you have to spread the word because if you can stop somebody from unaliving themselves or doing something crazy to other people, we've saved one life. Now that exponentially transverses into other things, into other people's stuff, so it doesn't break that cycle. Because having that right partner to support you also can also put you in the right direction, like you said,
Hmm.
Doc. Right? What
Yeah.
are some of the red flags on an audit? We did an audit of your manhood last week. What about an audit for finding capable partners?
Oh, red flags. All right. First and foremost, someone who listens to, who's very reactive. They listen
Mm,
to respond, not to understand. Someone who is emotionally unavailable because they're scared of getting hurt. Someone who is very combative and aggressive, and has very limited emotional regulation. Uh, Trying to think of what else. There was another one that just came to mind. Um, Someone who doesn't build you up, someone who doesn't take personal responsibility for their behaviors, someone who doesn't know how to apologize for the offenses, um, someone who doesn't even take care of themselves. Right? If they're not taking
mm,
care of themselves, then they're not going to know how to nurture or amplify anything you give them. Right? So that self care is important. Someone who's interested, someone who's not interested in growth, right? They feel like they're just great the way they are, and they have no desire to change or get better. Someone who can't take guidance or advice, right? If they're always pushing that away, that's someone that's you're not gonna be able to grow with. Um, hmm.
and that's a
Someone
lot.
who has no desire to submit, right? They don't understand what real submission is, right? And now in the culture now it's like 50-50 and all these things like that. They don't really understand, what what kind of like what it looks like, right? Someone who doesn't know how to communicate, right?
That's big.
Poor communication skills. I mean, that's the foundation for any relationship, right? Like you can't have trust and loyalty and commitment if they don't know how to communicate, right? So if they don't know how to communicate, that's a red flag as well. When it comes to faith, right? If you're a Christian or whatever else your faith is, you should probably be if they don't believe in your faith, right? Right? If they're because they could be a hindrance to you. If she's like, yeah, I'll use Christianity as an example, and
Right.
she's like, I'm not a Christian and you are, that's water and oil, right?
Yep.
That's not what you're looking for, right? So gosh, as far as are there any other red flags? There was a video I was watching the other day that this woman, her name is Kitty, she's on tonight's conversation. She was just like
Mhm.
listing them off like
Yeah,
that.
cheating's good.
But I think that's enough for right now. I mean, if you could I guess another red flag is a woman who has too many guy friends, right?
Oh, that's
That's that's a no-go. Oh, it's my male best friend. Nope. We're not
male
doing all
best
that.
friend.
We're not
I
doing all
mean,
that.
we can talk about.
I'm ask yourself this question, right? If because I mean, people people for a long time, and the guy's respectful of your relationship. But if they're having conversations and you can't be in the vicinity, if she's going to him when things are hurt, if she's sharing information, that's
Yeah,
just
that's
you're leaving the door open for things to
yeah.
happen that if you set those boundaries up in place ahead of time, then yeah, that's that because it's just you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So gosh, I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I guess I'll throw one more in there. A woman who has no desire to reciprocate the efforts that you're pouring in as well. Not that it's
Oh,
transactional, but
absolutely.
the way a natural relationship is supposed to happen is that when you do, then she does, and you guys keep pouring into each other, and this is cycle. But if it's like you do and then she does nothing, or she has very, very little, and you find yourself burned out because you're doing so much, that's also a red flag. But hopefully you're able to pick up on with all this stuff I just gave you. Hopefully you're able to pick up on any of those things and not get to the point where it becomes detrimental to you.
I mean, that's so huge because if you don't have, if I mean, you, I would say 10 out of the 20 things that you just listed is all non-reciprocal, right? Because if
Mm,
she's not reciprocating the same things that you going for and strive for, you start checking them off like a checklist, right?
mm-hmm,
It will not work in so many things because when the times get rough, when the times get bad, she will
mm,
book out that door.
mm-hmm,
Or she will do some things. And if it's not, I mean, this way it's like when you have a lot of so many different people doing so many different things in the relationship field, but you're not teaching to be sovereign yourself, to have the confidence to see these red flags, to do things, and you're not doing that for the other person, and it's not a match. When times get rough, things will go sideways fast. Whether it's you leads to divorce, like you said, like the things that's happening with the people, um, doing things, shooting in the store and all this other kind of crazy stuff, right? Right.
mm-hmm.
It's not going to help anybody else, but you got to be able to put yourself in a situation where it's like you can notice these things, right? Because if you
Yeah.
don't notice these things and you're not on the same page, like say a couple of them that you missed was like, okay, if she's if you're going into a relationship and they don't want to do a joint bank account to pay bills or something like that, you know what I mean? It's communication, financial literacy,
Mm-hmm.
communication literacy, emotional literacy. Like some of the stuff I might have the attributes might be a red flag for me and Andrea, but we've worked through it. No, I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Because the accountability and the story, I won't do that. No, 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 no.
Well,
But then again, too, right? It's just part of life and being in the relationship because we put the relationship first amongst our own selfish things. Because at the end of the day, do you want to be um, pressurized into doing things for nothing? Because when you see all these YouTube videos going on right now, they're just all full of it. You mean it's ridiculous?
but Here's the thing, and I'll share this, right? So listed all these different red flags, but I'll be honest with you, gentlemen, like, truth be told, they really don't matter, right? And what I mean by that is if you know, if you're a sovereign man, you know how you want to be treated, you're going to pick up on the whatever it is,
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
You're going to be able to
100%.
pick up on it like that. If you
Yeah.
know yourself, if you're
Yep.
emotionally healed, if you're ready for a
Yep.
relationship, if you have
Eh,
boundaries, if you, when you're secure, when you know all that, you don't, it doesn't, because that's another thing in the world right now. Like, everybody's a narcissist, because I guess since the word came out, everybody became a clinical
I was,
psychologist, and
yeah, I was gonna say
everybody has
100%.
assessments, right? Like, that's what it is now, right? Because I watched a TikTok, and it said, oh, if your boyfriend doesn't flush the toilet, he's a narcissist. Oh yeah, now what? Like, it's silly, it's ridiculous, right? You know, so, but I don't have to
Oh,
worry about
funny.
narcissist or bipolar or anything along those lines. If I know myself, then I don't have to worry about what's out there. I'll know when it comes and it's not right, then I'll be able to pick up on it. Because yeah, nah, I'm not rocking with that. I don't like that. All that aggression, all that energy you're coming with. And I told you, like, that's not it. Okay, yeah, nah, we're good. We're gonna move on. Like, that we move. That's when you have that confidence to be able to move. So it's so critical to know yourself. Like, I was
Right.
talking with a client. The last week. We were working on something, or we were in session, and one of the things that came up, and I said, it's better to know how to fight than look for all the people who want to fight you, right?
Of
And
course.
that's what it's like
Yep.
when we talk about the red flags and everything like that. It's like, oh, I'm looking out for that red flag and this and that and this, and it's this 20 long checklist thing, da 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 da. Yeah, it's easier to be like, I know how to handle myself, right? I always use the example of, like, those old, like, kung fu movies when you'd have the old master kind of walking along by himself, hands behind his back and things like that. And it's like people run up on him and then he beats them all up, or like Ip Man and things like that. Like,
Yep.
I don't have
Same
to,
thing.
I'm not paranoid about all these different red flags and issues because I know I can handle myself. So the real focus doesn't need to be on, oh, let me look at this checklist. And if she doesn't, with all these red flags, no, the real effort needs to be on, do I know myself? Do I know how I want to be treated? What's my boundary? How do I teach it? How do I enforce it? You got that? And it don't matter. You can go out there and you have a date, and if she's on some type of, like, feminist kick and, like, men need
Oh,
to down with the patriarchy. Yeah, nah, this is good. Yeah, I don't think this
no.
is why. I don't really want this. Let's just go ahead and get the check, and I'll pack my stuff up, and I'm gonna go ahead and head out. Like, it's okay to walk away from that. Like, why continue? Right? If it's like, yeah, no, this ain't it. Or if she's coming at you being all aggressive or blowing up your phone or coming to you, like, it's like, yeah, no, we're not doing all that, because I know how I want to be treated, and I know what I'm looking for, and I'm moving with intention. And this is what I'm seeing. This ain't it, because I'm not looking for a project. I'm looking for someone who wants to build together. So
Correct.
keep
Correct.
that in mind. Keep that in mind.
And then when you, I mean, even for you and your wife, you mean you guys have built a good careers, good life. You mean you guys have your ups and downs and everything else,
Mhm.
like from your past stories. But that's what
Mhm.
makes you proud of the relationship and finding the right partner. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, you guys both keep each other in line, whether you like it or not.
Mhm. Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
because she understands you, right? Because a lot of the time, like when I see these people being simped out, or I see these people having transactional relationships, and they tell me something else, and I'm looking at them like, are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Or is it because you don't want to see it and that's the only way you can get attention and validation through that
Mm.
relationship? And nine
Yeah.
out of tens, it is that either you're paying for it monetarily wise, time wise, or maybe a part of your soul. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, uh, you know, are you dating for ego to say, oh, that's my girl, whatever and stuff, but there's no substance behind it, and there's egotistical versus building something together and wasting all their time and energy resources for something that's never going to attain to anything, right?
Mhm.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of people nowadays do that, right? Because
Yeah.
that's just how it is. Now, another phase of that is when you get in that relationship, when do you know when to cut that thing off, right?
Mm.
Because they want to be stuck because, oh, that's the best thing that happened to me. You make excuses, you finding the reasons, this and that, right? A
Yeah.
lot of the times when you when you go into that part of the phase, right? Say you, like you said,
Mhm.
Doc, you might know what you want, but you get bamboozled, right?
Mm.
What happens next? What do you see and what do you suggest? What do you tell your clients?
So I guess this is so this would be a shift though, right? So that could only happen if a man is not sovereign. I'm just be honest. That can only happen
Yep.
if a man is not sovereign,
You
right?
let it
If
go.
you're going looking for a relationship to get validation and you feel like hey, getting a
It's all
relationship
bad.
that's gonna make me feel loved and it's gonna get poured into, like that's not a sovereign man. You're looking for someone
Yep.
to fill a hole in a gap that's your job to
Right.
fill, your job to
Right.
fix. So I just make sure I'm clear. A sovereign
Yep.
man would not be in that situation.
Yep.
He would not be in that relationship. He would not, right? So, for the sake of this question, this is someone who is not a sovereign man or trying to become a sovereign man. You know, you have to don't look at her and well, if she just did, or if she just fixed, or she would just stop, she's not the problem. She's not the problem. I know it sounds like she is not the problem. You are the problem. You are the problem because you don't know how to set boundaries. You're the problem because you don't know how to communicate. You're the problem because you're not emotionally regulating yourself, right? You are the problem. You don't know what you want. You aren't moving with intention. You are the problem. Fix yourself first because sometimes you do have a good woman. And because you're a mess and you weren't ready for it, and she's holding you accountable and she's communicating properly, and you're shutting down and you're running away and you're doing the foolishness and you're online looking at thirst trap stuff and you're doing all of that, and you have a phenomenal woman that you are ruining, she is not the problem.
Yep.
You are the problem.
Yep.
Fix yourself first. Once you fix yourself, once you know how to communicate, once you know how to regulate, once you know how not to take things personal, once you know how to have boundaries, once you know how to operate in excellence, once you know how to do all these things and you do them, not just learn them, but you actually do them and you do them consistently, then you're in a clear headspace to see, okay, was she the problem? Because a lot of times if you clear that stuff up, you'll find out that she actually wasn't. Not saying that she's perfect, right? But a lot of times,
big difference.
You have a great woman and you don't know what to do with her because you don't know what to do with yourself. Yep. So first things first, before we talk about jumping ship, because all it's going to happen if you jump ship without fixing yourself, you're going to go ruin another woman and another woman and another woman. Then you're going to hop in some what an incel website. Oh, these women are horrible and they're all this and they're all that. And ain't no one looking at it. Are you taking care of what are you doing? Like stop talking about them. Let's start talking about you. You know, well, I pay all the bills, but are you there emotionally? You know, are you codependent? Are you operating the role of a leader, provider, protector? Like, are you setting boundaries? Or are you a people pleaser? Like, let's start looking at ourselves first, because once you fix yourself, a lot of times everything else kind of falls into place. A lot of times, right? And the times when it doesn't, you fix yourself, and then you see like, oh shoot, yeah, no, she is a disaster. Yeah, she is. All those red flags. Yeah, she's checking those boxes twice, right? Then it's like, okay, well, I got to get out of here. If it's marriage, and I'll just say this, and this is critical. This is really, really, really critical, right? You're going to go some Bible, right? Especially if you're a Christian. If you're not a Christian, doesn't really matter. But if you are a Christian, you need to, this is even more important because scripturally speaking, the only reason for divorce is infidelity. That's it. That's the only reason for divorce.
Okay.
So that means scripturally, in the eyes of God, you cannot get a divorce unless there's been infidelity, scripturally speaking. Now, people want to talk about abandonment. That's not talking about two believers if you two are believers. That's talking about if you're two non-believers and one becomes a believer and the non-believer wants to go, then they're free to go because they're not held to the same standards. That's talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So I say all this to say, you better be very, very, very careful about who you get with because you cannot leave unless, again, they commit adultery, right? And obviously, if you commit adultery, then they can leave. So I just want to put that out there. But everybody else, if you're not a Christian, you know, then again, you're not held to the same standards. So, hey, and if it's just a regular, obviously, if it's a regular relationship, work, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you just, hey, this ain't it for me. I set my
Right.
boundary. You're not listening to them. You're argumentative, whatever. I did fix myself. You're still the same. You keep coming down on me. It's been a year. Okay, I'm just gonna leave. I'm sorry, it didn't work out. And again, and I would say, of course, I'm using a lot of you statements. You would use I statements in this case, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this isn't it for me. I want more out of the relationship. I want this, that, whatever. And this is what I'm missing, and then you leave. But so that's how you would leave, right? Sometimes it might be hard. You might be scared of the reaction or whatnot. But we got to, as a sovereign man, you got to do hard things. That's just life. You
Absolutely.
got to do hard things, right?
Absolutely.
So
Let me ask.
so yeah.
Let me ask you this. Okay.
Mhm.
How is it important? Wait, vice versa, right? When a woman is looking for, or your partner is looking for you to be an anchor, how important is it you vet your partner to be the anchor for you, to create that stable home, to create that emotional safety, right? What are some of the things you could do to kind of like, I mean, you mentioned so much already, right? But when you understand, you want to be the anchor for her, you want to be her to be the anchor for you. How do you vet those standards out, right?
Uh, those aren't, you don't actually vet that, you build that, right?
Oh, you build it.
But you
Okay.
would look, but I would say though, but you would obviously, in order to build that though, you got to have the right materials. So if you're looking at a person, you're looking at your potential spouse, right? Again, see how she handles herself, see how she pours into you. Is she a safe place for you to open up and share? Is she, willing to like listen to you and understand you and pour into you? Are you doing the same for her, right? Does she receive from you as you receive from her? Does she give you like, hey, have you thought about this? Get you to think. Like, so, when you're down, does she come and support you? Like, hey, it's gonna be all right, we're gonna be there, and vice versa. Are you doing the same for her? So these are the things the traits that you would look for. And then as you guys build and as you guys move forward and as you guys get married, right? Then you're gonna have a rock. It's only gonna get stronger and stronger, because those are the women that say, I remember I was listening to this video and this guy said, hey, I'm scared to do this deal, right? I'm scared to do this deal, right? And his wife was like, well, what's making you scared? He's like, well, because if I, don't do this deal, it's gonna put us in a real bad spot financially, right? And so with that being said, his wife was like, well, you'll still have the kids and you'll still have me, right? And he's like, yeah. Well, then shoot, you still got everything you need. Go ahead and do it. Like, that's an anchor. That's a guy. It's like, I can go and pursue, what I need to pursue. And I know I got someone who's going to have my back. And that's built through being able to connect with your spouse and emotionally, especially emotionally, right? Emotional connection builds the anchor the strongest, like strong, right? And also, just catching up, Alpha, the first one. I would
You want
say
the
this,
first one
man,
up?
I
I can
would
put
even
the
take
first
it to
one
the
up if
next
you want.
level. Huh?
Yeah. There's like he
Oh,
wrote three, but he's
yeah,
absolutely correct.
yeah. I would just say this, man. You're definitely right. But I wouldn't even say a mate, man. I would say a wife, because scripturally speaking, it doesn't say mate in the Bible. I'm a Christian. I don't know about anybody else, but it doesn't say mate. It says wife. So as men, we want wives, right? Not mates, not partners. We want wives. But I definitely get where you're coming from with that in
No,
your
absolutely.
right, as far as the words and everything along those lines, the terminology. Yeah.
No, he's all right, because we weren't created equal at the same time. But like you said, you're looking for a right wife, not a partner. But it starts with a partnership, or vetting out a lot of different things to find that right person you can have that relationship with, to build that
Mm.
family, to build that foundation, to do things in the earth that what we were meant to be. But a lot of the times people get it wrong, right? And people don't know how to figure. Agreed, fair enough. Yeah, he said, look, that's perfect. I mean, it's like, agreed, fair enough, a wife, fair enough, not a partner. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, it's different break, because Doc is a Christian, my wife, I'm Catholic, my wife is Mormon, but we make it work, because you guys need to have some sort of faith base to have that projection going into somewhere else. But nah, this has been a good one, Doc, because a lot of the times, there's so many things going on in the world. And it was just to say, proud to be our sponsor, Right? You need. I forgot to drop you off some the other day. In fact, Sheree took them all. We worked this week. I worked the convention this week because we're launching the products, and he's producing on stage, so we'll be up. But guys on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channels, Boundaries and Brotherhood community is up. Website is up. Planned posts to get you in the right mood is moving. It's all planned for the next 3 weeks. That's how good it is. But guys, I wanted to say it's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you guys. If you want to leave us a comment, if you want to work with Doc, go to FCS LLC. You can find him. And if you want to join the community, let us know in the comments. Find us. You don't see posts from my personal page, Boundaries and Brother page, YouTube. Every day there's 10 posts coming out. There's drip feeds going on. Things are in the works to have a private community, to have a public community, both private and public. Workshop at the end of the month. And we'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah. All right. So, gentlemen, definitely take care. And again, those of you who are out there trying to find a wife, make sure you're good for yourself first. You know what you want, what you're looking for, and you're moving with intentionality. Have your boundaries. You know how to operate in excellence. And that way you can pinpoint all that stuff that we talked about, the red flags. You'll be able to see that stuff like the Matrix Code. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I can guarantee by you being able to have that self-respect, that self-worth, that self-confidence, by you able to have that, knowing yourself, it's going to be a lot easier because you're going to start putting yourself in spaces where the wife you're looking for, she's not going to be down there at the bottom. She's going to be in these places. That's where you're going to be. It's going to be a lot easier. So don't believe the lie out there. And granted, I'm not out there in the dating field, but I know for sure there is places where there are good women who will amplify your life exponentially in every single way. They are out there, right? But just again, make sure you're good first, because if you're good, that's what you're going to attract to you, right? Because unfortunately, in the world, that's just a universal law. You attract what you are, not what you want. You attract what you are. So you got to make sure you raise yourself to a high level so you can attract a woman who's also at a high level. But y'all take care. Have a great and blessed week. Remember, you're not alone, and we'll see you next time.
Aloha. See you next week. Bye, guys.